What is going on, everyone? Griffin here, coming at you with some Dallas gameplay, and today we are going to be talking about the HRM. Is the HRM the actual meta weapon in Rogue Company currently? Let's head over and let's talk about it. So whenever you look on paper, the HRM and the Sahara, which a lot of people consider as the meta weapon right now, the Sahara, perform very, very, very close to one another. The only difference that I can actually tell between the two, other than the actual ammo count, is the fire rate versus damage. The HRM fires slower but does 25 body damage. The Sahara fires quicker, does 24 body damage. Therefore, 9 times out of 10, the Sahara is going to beat the HRM in most engagements unless you start factoring headshots into that. If we start going body shot for body shot, the Sahara absolutely destroys what the HRM is trying to do. But once headshots are introduced into that, the HRM actually comes out on top. The weapon is designed to be like a 3 headshot tap down, or a 2 headshot, 1 body shot down type of weapon. But where things get very interesting, at least in my opinion, is the fact that the fall off ranges are identical between the Sahara and the HRM. And whenever you look at all of the weapons, the only thing that realistically kind of outclasses that range, at least from what I've tested, is the Mark IV, and I believe possibly even the Hydra, which is kind of odd, right? Because you would think that the HRM would have a little bit more bullet velocity, have a little bit more range before that fall off starts hitting, compared to something like the Sahara that shoots a little bit quicker. But that does not seem to be the case. So which one is the meta pick? And realistically, it all comes down to, of course, whatever you prefer in the moment. Do you prefer HRM? Do you prefer Sahara? What kind of playstyle are you going for? Are you going to be a little bit more aggressive? Sahara is there for you. Are you going to be playing a little bit more reserved and a little bit further in the back line? Then the HRM is definitely there for you there. But you can't use the HRM kind of the way that you used to be able to use the HRM. You could use the HRM at one time by playing a little bit further in the backfield and basically using it like a fully automatic DMR. And I know that they wanted to kind of change the meta up quite a bit, especially whenever the HRM meta hit, but that realistically didn't happen all that well, in my opinion. They made some changes to the weapon, of course, but overall, I don't think that the changes were done in the proper way, right? I think that the HRM should have worse hip fire, but I do think that the damage should be further and it should be a little bit higher than the Sahara. Right now, with the Sahara being pretty much pinpoint accurate whenever you're hip firing it, having 1 less damage that is dealt while shooting the body and a comparable headshot damage and firing that much faster, it doesn't realistically feel like it holds weight compared to the HRM. Now, they could absolutely do something in the future to bring the HRM just a little bit more in line, but I think that there's other bigger problems that they need to tackle with the assault rifles right now. I think that the Riptide is a perfect example of that. The KA kind of fits into a pretty decent place right now. It's not the best place that I've ever seen it in, but it is in a pretty decent place. But the Riptide has just completely been butchered by the last set of changes that we did get in the game, and it feels really rough. It feels really bad whenever you're running the Riptide and you're trying to use that weapon to the fullest and you can't because of that accuracy loss. Now, I did make a video on the Riptide and like how they should have actually balanced the Riptide, in my opinion, but do I feel like that they will go back on that? I'm not 100% certain. I hope that they do make those changes, because the Riptide is a lot of people's favorite weapon. The Riptide is something that is fun to play with, and I know that there's a ton of people out there that would love to like jump in and play that weapon, but it's just not competitive up against the rest of the ARs, and definitely not competitive up against the rest of the SMGs. I would love to see them take a look at the assault rifles and stop trying to compare all of the weapons in the game versus all of the weapons in the game, and actually look at like what is the best thing for this specific weapon class. If you're going to have the Hydra needs to have infinite range. It needs to be something that is easily usable at extended ranges and doesn't have all these weird ghost bullets that come out of it. The Hydra, the HRM, there's several assault rifles that suffer from this accuracy loss thing that they put into the game, and it feels bad whenever you have other assault rifles that are barely statistically worse, like barely, I mean just barely statistically worse than these other weapons. Why would we play these other weapons? If we're going to have ghost bullets being shot out of the HRM, if I'm ADSing on someone and I'm pinpoint on that person and the bullets are just flying all around them and not hitting them, why would I play with that weapon versus playing with something like, I don't know, let's say the Sahara in that situation, or the KA-30 to that degree? It's just something that the developers need to look at, and they need to see, what do these weapons, what gaps do they need to fill? Does the Nightshade need to be the SMG-esque like assault rifle? Does it need to have good mobility? Does it need to have decent damage? Does it need to have shorter range, decent hip fire? That's what that's for. And then you go from basically submachine gun territory all the way up into DMR territory. At that point, you can have something that competes with SMGs. You could have 2 or 3 somethings that can compete with the SMGs. Then you have your mid-class assault rifle mainstays, and then you have your upper end of that are primarily used to compete with DMRs. Right now, nothing in the game competes with DMRs other than sniper rifles and other DMRs. And that is a fact. And that sucks, because like, I would absolutely love to be able to run specific assault rifles in order to try to counter those DMR players. But unfortunately, that's not the way that it's shaken out. So I would really like to see the developers go back to the table and try to actually figure out, like, hey, how does this feel? What is this used to counter? What is the play style that is used here? Be sure to let me know what you think in the comments down below. This is kind of currently where I sit with like the HRM and the assault rifles in Rogue Company. I feel like the assault rifles, they're supposed to be like the Swiss Army weapons, like that class as a whole, not the weapons, but the class as a whole. And that class is supposed to be able to be something that is usable when going up against pretty much everything else in the game. The DMRs aren't supposed to act that way. The SMGs aren't supposed to act that way. And for sure, the snipers and the shotguns are not supposed to act that way. So why can't we make that assault rifle class a little bit more interesting and give different variables? If you're fighting against a DMR heavy team, here is your best bet option. But if you're fighting against an SMG heavy team, here are your best bet options. If we're going to keep weapon mastery in the game, we need to have something like this put into the game so that you do have those opportunities to counterplay what you are going up against. But be sure to let me know what you think. Also, be sure to check that description for links to Facebook, Discord, and Twitter. Those are the places to contact me. If you haven't already, please be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. If you've already subscribed to the channel, then consider hitting that join button to become one of the 256 crew members. Lastly, on Thursdays and also on Sundays, I will be streaming here on YouTube, so if you are interested and available, please feel free to stop by and say hello there. Thanks for watching, guys.
Toxic Can You Be? It starts playing that Britney Spears song.
That song was after I quit listening to her. I literally don't even know what that sounds like.
Like,